It was the evening of November 2nd, 1966, a cold, drizzly night in West Virginia. Woodrow "Woody" Derenberger, a 50-year-old traveling salesman, was driving home along Interstate 77 toward Parkersburg after a long day of work. The highway was quiet, save for the steady sweep of his windshield wipers. Then, headlights appeared behind him, approaching fast. A vehicle swung around to pass, then cut sharply in front of his truck, forcing him to stop. At first, Woody thought it was a distressed motorist or a police stop, but the object before him was unlike any car or truck he'd ever seen. It resembled the chimney of a kerosene lamp, 30 to 40 feet long, with a bulging center and flared ends. It hovered a foot above the pavement, silent except for a faint fluttering sound. Rain dripped from its smooth, metallic grey surface. As Woody stared, frozen, a door swung open. A tall man stepped out into the rain. He moved with deliberate grace, shutting the hatch behind him with a solid thunk. In the dim light, Woody could make out a strikingly human-looking figure, about 6 feet tall, with dark, slicked-back hair and an unnaturally deep tan for a November night. He was dressed in a reflective blue coat that gleamed in Woody's headlights, with a dark suit underneath. But it wasn't his clothing that unsettled Woody. It was his expression. The man's mouth was fixed in a broad, frozen grin, as if his face had been stretched into permanent amusement. Then Woody heard a voice, yet the man's lips never moved. "I was very frightened," Woody later recalled. "And as far as I can understand, this was all mental. There were no spoken words. I knew what he was asking me, but his lips did not move." The stranger communicated telepathically. He reassured Woody, stating in a calm, measured tone, "My name is Cold. I am a searcher." The two engaged in an unbelievable conversation on that empty stretch of road. Cold asked Woody simple, almost childlike questions. His tone was polite, but unsettlingly detached. He inquired about Woody's hometown, his work, and even the glowing lights in the distance. Woody explained that the glow came from Parkersburg, a city where people lived and worked. Cold pondered this, then offered an odd detail about himself. "Where I come from, we call those gatherings." He went on to describe his people in familiar terms. "We eat, we breathe, we sleep, we bleed, even as you do." He added cryptically that his world was not nearly as powerful as yours. For 10 minutes, Woody and the grinning man stood in the rain, one speaking aloud, the other projecting words straight into Woody's mind. Throughout the exchange, Cold's eerie, unwavering grin never faltered. Then, as suddenly as he had arrived, Cold prepared to leave. Before turning back toward his craft, he left Woody with a final parting phrase. "We will see you in time." A promise, a warning, or something deeper about time itself. Cold turned and stepped aboard the floating craft. A hand from inside reached out to help him up. The door shut behind him with a low hum. Then, in a flash, the object lifted from the road and shot into the night sky, vanishing into the rain-soaked clouds. Woody sat in stunned silence, gripping the wheel. The red glow of his taillights reflected off the empty pavement. His heart pounded, his breathing steadied. The peculiar craft and its grinning emissary were gone. Still trembling, Woody sped home to Mineral Wells. He burst through the door, drenched and pale, and immediately called the police to report what had happened. Within hours, officers arrived at the house to take his statement. They found him visibly shaken, but unwavering. "I met a man from another world," he insisted. By morning, the bizarre story had spread across Parkersburg. The very next day, November 3rd, 1966, Woody made an extraordinary decision. He would go public. At 4 p.m., he appeared live on WTAP TV, recounting every detail of his meeting with Indrid Cold. For 30 minutes, he sat under the bright studio lights, visibly rattled, yet determined, describing the metallic grey craft, the grinning man, and the telepathic exchange. The interview set off a frenzy. For nearly 3 weeks, local newspapers ran stories on the Derenberger incident. Reports flooded in from residents claiming to have seen strange lights in the sky near Interstate 77. One elderly man confessed he had seen a tall, smiling figure waving down cars, but had been too terrified to stop. A farmer phoned in about a low-flying object streaking toward Parkersburg that same night. Police, and even the Air Force, took note. The public response was split. Some saw Derenberger as a sincere man who had encountered something extraordinary. To them, Indrid Cold was an extraterrestrial envoy, perhaps even an ambassador from a more advanced civilization. The idea that a UFO had landed in West Virginia fit neatly into the broader wave of high strangeness sweeping the region, including the first reports of the Mothman just 2 weeks later. Others dismissed the story outright. Skeptics suggested Woody had misidentified a normal aircraft, suffered a hallucination, or simply fabricated the event. Local police admitted they had no physical evidence, no scorched pavement, no radar blips, only Woody's word and the corroborating witness reports of strange lights that night. Yet, in time, more sightings emerged. Journalist John Keel traveled to Parkersburg, interviewing Derenberger and other locals who claimed to have encountered a grinning man. A family in Ohio reported a strange figure near their farm. A teenage girl in Point Pleasant described waking to find a broad-shouldered man grinning at her in the darkness before he vanished. As the months passed, Indrid Cold was no longer just one man's experience. He was becoming a phenomenon. His name slipped into UFO journals and whispered conversations, joining the ranks of the Men in Black, Mothman, and other eerie figures in America's growing catalogue of unexplained mysteries. By the end of 1966, Indrid Cold had entered folklore. A grinning man, emerging from the rain with an unsettling smile, speaking without words, and departing with an open-ended promise, "We will see you in time." What began as one man's inexplicable meeting had become one of the great modern legends of the unknown, one that even today refuses to fade.